Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. Okay, I wasn't going to do a video today, but a lot of you guys have been Facebook messaging me, YouTube messaging me, emailing me, still wanting to know my thoughts on the Last Jedi trailer. Even though I did upload a video a couple of nights ago when the trailer dropped on Monday, October the 9th, granted, I didn't get to it until like 2 o'clock in the morning, early Tuesday morning. But I did upload a video. But fair enough, the video tended to focus more on where I think The Last Jedi is going and where Star Wars is going in terms of what I saw rather than the trailer in and of itself. And I think a lot of people really like watching trailer reactions. You guys love watching people watch the trailer, and maybe some of you expected to be watching me watching the trailer, and that's not what I uploaded. And a lot of you guys also like watching videos of people breaking down the trailer, like scene by scene or shot by shot or whatever the case is, and that's not what my video was either. So fair enough, I understand that. But the reason why I didn't focus on that, and the reason why I'm not doing that is because at the end of the day, what matters the most and what everybody wants to know is, where is this going? What is this story for The Last Jedi? Where is Star Wars as a whole going? What's the direction it's going? Because this movie is the pivotal movie. This is the second act. This is the tragedy. This is the second act in the three-act play system. This is the movie that's going to tell us not only where The Last Jedi is going, but where Star Wars is going as a whole in terms of the saga films. And any other film that probably takes place within this timeline, but just so happens to be a standalone. So that, at the end of the day, that's what matters. Yes, it looks great and it feels great and it looks like a Star Wars movie and it feels like a Star Wars movie and the visuals are fantastic and all this kind of stuff. I said all this in my last video. I mean, what were we expecting? Of course it looks great. Of course the AT-ATs look amazing, right? Although I think they're ATM6s or something like that. Comment below and let me know if I'm wrong on that, but I think it's something like that. Of course the spaceships look great and the space battles look great and Leia looks great and Rey looks great and Luke looks great and, Chewie looks great. I mean, what were we... Of course. Were we expecting anything less? Of course not. So that's why I didn't focus on that. I focused on, okay, but what does it all mean? What's the bigger picture here? You know what I'm saying? So, but fair enough. So I'm going to try and combine the two. So let's walk through a little bit of the trailer. I'm not going to focus completely on it, but let's walk through it a little bit. So when the trailer begins, and there's something I want you guys to think about, because I like to sort of look at what I'm seeing and match it to where I think they're going, not just like, oh, that was so cool. Oh, look at that. Did you see that ship? Oh, that's awesome that they're back. Oh, that's so cool. Well, yeah, it's cool, but what does it mean? You know what I'm saying? So let's take it from here. So the beginning of the trailer, right? We have this beautiful shot of Kylo Ren, helmetless, I might add, standing probably on some First Order ship, looking out this window, surveying some sort of First Order shenanigans going on. And we begin to hear Snoke's voiceover, which sounds fantastic, by the way. I mean, as I mentioned in my other video, I watched the trailer on my TV in my home theater, and I have a 75-inch TV and surround sound, and it was just absolutely fantastic. It was reverberating the walls, and it literally sounded like Snoke was in my house. But anyway, I loved it. But something that I started to think about the more and more I watched the trailer was, well, hang on a sec here. Now, we're led to believe through the editing of cinematic language and, the way you can piece certain things together to give the illusion something means something when it really doesn't. But we're led to believe that Snoke is talking to Kylo Ren. Why? Because we keep seeing Kylo Ren. We see him at the window. We see him walking that nice, beautiful aerial shot of Kylo Ren walking with the troopers. Behind him, we see the profile shot of him with his mask on. We see him picking up his lightsaber, all when Snoke's voiceover is happening. So yes, we're left to assume that he is talking to Kylo Ren, right? That's what you assume if you take it at face value. However, I'm starting to think, what if He's not talking to Kylo Ren at all. He's talking to Rey. And what if now, bear with me, what if it was Snoke who left Rey on Jakku? Or if not Snoke himself, somebody from the First Order, right? Maybe it was her parents, but maybe Rey's parents are not anybody good. It's not Luke Skywalker, it's not Han and Leia, she's not the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi, or somebody who appeared in the fucking Rebels cartoon. No. What if her parents are of really no significance per se, but they were bad people. They were very connected to the dark side of the Force. Do you know what I'm saying? And maybe they worked for Snoke, right? And it was either Snoke or somebody who works for Snoke who dropped her off on Jakku with, what's his face? Unkar Platt, or whatever his name is, or whatever. Because why the hell would you leave her with him? I mean, why would you leave her with him? I mean, you're going to drop her off on this desert planet and you leave her with him? That seems really irresponsible and not something that somebody who's really connected with the Resistance or the light side would do, if you know what I mean. So I've always thought that was very strange. So what if when Snoke says those lines, which are, "When I found you, I saw raw, untamed power, and beyond that, something truly special." Now remember, okay, when Snoke says, "and beyond that, something truly special," that's at the moment of the trailer that we cut in and we see Rey ignite her lightsaber. Now again, okay, working in the industry, cutting a lot of trailers in my time for other people and my own films, I know how this works, and you guys know how this works as well. This is something called cinematic language, trying to create the impression that something might mean something when it really doesn't, and yada, yada, yada. It's like going back to that second Force Awakens trailer, right? When you would hear the voiceover, you know, "I have it, my father has it, my sister has it," and you would see the images matching what Luke was saying, and everybody's like, "Is that Luke? Is that Luke when he's putting his hand on R2-D2? Are those Leia's hands?" When yes, it is, because if you think about what's being said and you look at what's happening on the screen, it's matching, and everyone's losing their shit like going, "No, maybe it's not Leia, maybe it's not Luke, maybe it's actually Max von Sydow," and it's like, what are you guys fucking talking about? Like, you guys are just creating shit out of nothing for the sake of having something to speculate about. Listen to what you're hearing and look at what you're seeing and yada, yada, yada. But they absolutely can reverse it to throw you off the track. So you think that Snoke is talking about Kylo Ren, and so you should. You're supposed to think that, because that's what you're seeing visually, right? You're making that connection. But what if he's not? What if he actually is talking about Rey? Or sorry, talking to Rey, right? Because we know at some point in the movie, Rey and Snoke do come together and meet because of that last shot towards the end of the film, right? So, interesting, something to think about. Something else that I find interesting as well in the trailer is when Luke says, I'm paraphrasing, right? But he says something to the effect of, I've only seen this power once before, and, I didn't take it, seriously then, but I'm, it scares me now, kind of thing, right? Really interesting. And of course, we are led to believe that he's talking to Rey. He's acknowledging Rey that the power you have in you, I've only seen that once before in my life. And of course, when it cuts, we see the visual of Luke's mechanical hand coming out of the fire when his Jedi, Academy was burned to a crisp and everything's on fire. And of course, we know that Kylo Ren did that. So yes, we are supposed to believe that he's talking about the once before being Kylo Ren. And he didn't take it seriously then, or at least maybe as seriously as he should have. And all shit hit the fan. And now he's just kind of like, and now I see this in you. And I'm just like, whoa, what the fuck, right? So that's interesting. And I know a lot of people are speculating, well, maybe he's talking about his father. And maybe he's talking about, Emperor Palpatine. And maybe he's talking about Mace Windu. Maybe he's talking, he read about Mace Windu. Maybe he's talking about, it's just like, oh God, guys, no, he's probably talking about Kylo Ren. Maybe not. Okay. I'll give you his father, and I'll certainly give you Emperor Palpatine, okay? I'll give you those two. But beyond Kylo, Palpatine, and Vader, or Yoda, okay? Stop. Just fucking stop, all right? It's all there. You just got to know what to look for. So I found that really interesting and intriguing. Now, beyond that, Okay, beyond that. Yes, there's two scenes in the film that could very well be what I like to refer to as fancy editing. And that is when it is edited in a certain way to make it look like a scene is playing out one way, when in reality, it's not playing out that way at all. And that's just for the purposes of to get you hyped and to get you excited and to cause drama and to make you on the edge of your seat, like, holy fuck, what's going on, to get your asses in the theater. Now, that doesn't mean that what they were alluding to in those scenes through that fakery and trickery doesn't end up coming to fruition. I mean, it doesn't mean that that doesn't end up happening, but maybe it doesn't happen right then and there in the way that it sort of looked like in the trailer, or maybe it doesn't quite roll out in the ways that the trailer made it seem, but it still happens. And of course, the first thing I'm talking about is when Kylo Ren is in his ship, which looks awesome, by the way. That's a pretty fucking cool TIE fighter. I think I might have to get that for my room. Maybe hang it like right here. You know what I'm saying? Like right there, so it's always like looking at you, you know, and you fucking piece of fucking shit. Anyway, yeah, and we are under the impression that he is having an emotional moment and getting ready to kill his mother. Now, does he? Who knows? Is it probable that he will? Yeah, it is, because he murdered his father, so yes, it's very probable that he now feels that he has to do that. Does he do it in that way right there at that moment? I don't know, okay? Because if you look in the background of Leia during that shot, the Resistance people don't seem to be in any sort of distress or panic. They're just kind of walking around like they're just like it's a Sunday afternoon and they're just chilling. So you would think that if that was a real dramatic moment and there was a battle going on, that you would see her face and you might see like people running behind her and maybe like a flash of light because something exploded, you know, or something like that. And she's just sort of staring into, you know, at his ship, and she's just thinking, this is it kind of thing. That's not necessarily the impression I got. I mean, she could have just been looking out the window, maybe sort of trying to contact Luke through the Force or her son through the Force or something like that. So yeah, that could be what I like to call, again, fancy editing. However, that doesn't mean that Kylo's not going to kill Leia in this movie. So be prepared for that. It just may not happen at that moment necessarily in that way. Or it may happen in that moment, but there's a few, you know, there's like 2 or 3 more minutes we haven't seen to give, you know, some context to sort of what we're looking at there. The other one, of course, is at the end of the trailer. And when I first saw it, of course, I think everybody sort of sees that and they go, oh my God, you know what I mean? What does this mean? But you got to keep things in context here. As a filmmaker, as somebody who does a lot of color correction and a lot of editing and a lot of mixing and mastering and using Photoshop and After Effects and you name it, I've used it. So knowing what I know and with my experience, I'm looking at the lighting. Yes, the lighting is similar, but it's actually not the same. I do believe and tend to side with those that is probably Rey talking to Luke when she says, I need to know where my place is in all this. She's probably not talking to Kylo Ren, because if you look at the shot, we have Rey. She's lit by the, on the right side of her face, your left. And there's nothing happening in the background. It seems fairly quiet, seems fairly remote. Maybe she's in the cave. Maybe that's the illumination of like a fire that is keeping them warm. Maybe Luke and Rey have lit a fire in the cave to keep themselves warm, and they're having this deep philosophical conversation. That's probably where that takes place, although who knows, right? And then it cuts immediately to Kylo Ren, and there's like clearly some sort of carnage happening behind him. I mean, he's not on Mustafar, right? So, you know, unless he's on that planet where lava is just like water, there's obviously some sort of carnage happening behind him. Now, when that happens in the movie, we don't know. But yes, there's some sort of carnage happening behind him with fire, and there's bits of fire coming down. The lighting is similar because there's the tungsten sort of orange kind of glow, which would be from two fires, right? I mean, that makes sense. Both actors are being illuminated by fire, so the color temperature is going to be the same, which is why the editors in post-production said, hey, why don't we do this? Because this will really mess with them and make them think that this is going to happen. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So you have to remember that. That doesn't mean that what they're alluding to here doesn't end up happening. It just might not happen at that moment in that way. But this is sort of foreshadowing and giving you the impression that, hey, be prepared that this is going to happen. But they don't want to show you how it actually happens because it's too big, too amazing, too awesome, too revealing. So they're going to foreshadow it through fancy editing in this way to make, to get you prepared for this potentiality. So that's what I think is happening here. But who knows? Maybe it is playing out that way. Maybe when we see it in the theater, that is exactly what's happening. But knowing what I know about editing, color temperature, color correction, mixing, mastering, I look at this and I go, yeah, the shots don't look quite the same. And I think if you were to ask any professional photographer or filmmaker who does this on a regular basis, they would look at you and say the same thing. They'd go, hey, yeah, sure, it's possible. But if I was a betting man, I would say, no, these shots don't match. They're close and they work. They work for what they're trying to convey. They work for the whole purposes of what they're trying to say. But it doesn't match up perfectly. So for those of you who think that Kylo is extending his hand to Rey, he's probably not, but that doesn't mean that Rey's not going to go with Kylo at some point in the movie or something happens. So those are the two shots that I sort of wanted to touch on and let people know that, yeah, you might be seeing some fancy editing there. But it doesn't mean that what they are alluding to doesn't end up happening. So keep that in mind as well. So anyways, folks, the last thing, again, it looks like a Star Wars movie. It feels like a Star Wars movie. I think it's totally awesome. I'm excited for it. But the last thing I want to touch on, which is a compartmentalized version of what I said in my last video, of where I think The Last Jedi is going to go and what I think it all means. And I'm going to read it for you right now because that keeps me on track and it's compartmentalized and I can get through it faster within just a minute or so here. Let's first go back to that very first trailer from April. When the end of the trailer came and Luke spoke those foreboding words, "It's time for the Jedi to end," millions of Star Wars nerds cried out in pain, sorrow, and disbelief. Many were, and still are, even speculating that placing that foreboding line at the end of the trailer was nothing more than fancy editing and trickery. It was placed there to make you think it comes later in the movie than it really does. Many are even assuming and still hoping it comes much earlier in the film as to give Luke enough time to have a change of heart and train Rey to become a Jedi. You are kidding me, right? So you want nothing more than a simplistic, cookie-cutter, predictable Karate Kid type of movie? Where the main character approaches a wise, old, and disgruntled, powerful figure, begs for him to train her, he refuses, but then sees she has potential, reminding him of his youth and better days, basically saying, "I like the cut of your jib," and changes his mind. Lame! Come on, man! You're all better than that. While so many are focused on the new trailer's special effects, fancy editing, and awesome Star Wars feel, but would we expect anything less? I mean, come on. I kindly remind you yet of another line that Luke said in the very first trailer from April in reference to light, dark, and balance. Luke said this, "It's so much bigger." I believe Luke has discovered something more, something larger than anyone has ever known about the Jedi, its teachings, and the Force and balance itself. Something even larger and more powerful than him, the Jedi, and yes, the Sith. The Jedi must end because in order to bring true balance to the galaxy, there needs to be a synthesis of both light and dark. The Jedi need to begin to embrace their inner dark side in order to be one step ahead of it forever. I'm not talking about turning or joining the dark side. I'm talking about being in touch with it. Once you understand it, embrace it, learn it, know it, and accept that yes, you too have a dark side. You'll always have an objective point of view on it. You'll always be ahead of it. If you know what to expect, you're less likely to be influenced by it. Yes, the Jedi must end, because whatever Luke has discovered renders its current state, its current incarnation, obsolete. There needs to be an evolution, something Luke will not be a part of because he's simply one side of a two-sided coin. He's just too much Jedi. Yes, he's the most powerful Jedi. But with this current knowledge of how it really all works, the much larger picture, if you will, simply being a Jedi just isn't enough. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. Rey is the one to bring that synthesis, but she will have to embrace her inner dark side, not avoid it, and possibly venture to places even Luke would never go or has never been. Snoke knows about this bigger knowledge and larger picture as well, and wants to have a monopoly on it. He wants Rey because he recognizes she is the beginning of something new, something very, very special and powerful. If he can have both Kylo and Rey, he will have a monopoly and rule the galaxy of this power. Luke is probably very much in touch with his dark side in this new film, but he knows he's not the one to bring it to a synthesis. He may be, however, the one to help bridge it. Luke is afraid to finish teaching Rey because he doesn't want to get burned again. He already tried to teach Kylo, more than likely the other time he recognized that power, right? What I said earlier. And he's afraid of failing and losing Rey, so he may back out and be very apprehensive about this. In order for there to be true peace in the galaxy, one must embrace their inner dark side and learn to accept that you have it and work with it. When you do, you'll be a step ahead of your enemies. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. It's so much bigger. Yes. Yes, it is. My name's Dave McRae. Comment below and let me know your thoughts on what I had to say. Tell me what you think of the Last Jedi trailer. I really want to know. If you guys want to follow me on Facebook, you can at facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. McRae is MCRAE. Facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. You can follow me there, like the page, follow me, whatever the hell you want to do. I don't know. Also, for you big Halloween fans out there, because I do a lot of Halloween content on this channel as well, remember on Tuesday, October the 31st, 2017 at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be watching John Carpenter's original Halloween live right here on this channel. Now, again, you won't be able to see or hear it for copyright reasons, but I will be watching it, and I want you guys to join me because I'll have the chat room open and you guys can ask me all sorts of questions, whatever you want to ask me. So yeah, don't forget that. Tuesday, October the 31st, 2017, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time sharp. Halloween night, essentially. So just remember that. So yeah, comment below and let me know your thoughts, guys. Those are my thoughts on the trailer. I mean, yeah, it looks great. It looks great. I'm excited. December 15th can't get here soon enough. And I've already got my tickets for the IMAX experience on Friday night. I didn't bother going the Thursday night because I'm like, I'll go Friday. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.